Artificial intelligence is no longer the story of tomorrow. It's the force reshaping today. It's a living current running through economies, politics, and even human identity. And this week, that current surged, split, and collided in ways that may define the next decade. The headlines alone were staggering. NVIDIA CEO predicted China will win the AI race. Amazon and OpenAI sealed one of the biggest tech deals of the decade. Markets trembled under talk of an AI bubble, and regulators in Europe prepared to draw the first global boundaries around intelligent machines. But beneath those headlines lies a deeper transformation, one about power, trust, and the uneasy fusion of human and machine ambition. Let's unpack what really happened. It began with a statement, short, sharp, and seismic. At the Financial Times Future of AI Summit, Jensen Huang, the head of NVIDIA, told a packed audience, China will win the AI race. The remark ricocheted across markets. If anyone understands the global AI balance, it's the man whose chips power nearly every major AI model on Earth. Huang's reasoning was blunt. China's data advantage, population scale, and government coordination make it nearly unstoppable in the long term. Even with US export restrictions cutting off access to NVIDIA's most advanced GPUs, Chinese firms like Huawei and Biren have rapidly built near equivalents. And with state funding pouring into domestic data centers and supercomputing projects, China's AI capacity is ballooning at a pace that rivals Western innovation. Meanwhile, in Washington, regulators are doubling down. New Commerce Department proposals could soon restrict cloud access for foreign entities training large models, essentially controlling not just who builds chips, but who rents them. It's an invisible firewall, software geopolitics. What began as a trade war has become a compute war, and every GPU is now a weapon in a silent global race. For years, AI has been described as the new electricity. Now it's becoming the new oil, scarce, strategic, and fiercely contested. While nations compete, corporations are forming their own empires. This week's bombshell was a $38 billion multi-year partnership between Amazon and OpenAI. This deal gives OpenAI massive access to Amazon Web Services cloud infrastructure and Amazon deep integration of ChatGPT-based agents into Alexa, AWS tools, and enterprise software. For OpenAI, it's about scaling its next generation of multimodal systems, models that can reason across text, images, and action. For Amazon, it's about catching up. After trailing Microsoft's Azure OpenAI partnership for 2 years, this deal thrusts AWS back into the AI spotlight. The agreement also hints at something larger, the slow unraveling of big tech's old boundaries. Where once these companies competed, now they interlock, each seeking data, compute, and distribution channels. Google has its Gemini Edge for mobile devices, Meta is pushing AI narrators across its social empire, and Apple quietly deploys its own on-device model behind the next iPhone series. The age of singular platforms is over. The age of interconnected AI ecosystems has begun. Every major company is both customer and competitor in the same neural marketplace. But not all moves this week were corporate victories. Amid the big deals, education tech company Chegg announced a drastic restructuring, shedding staff as students flock to ChatGPT and free AI tutors. It's a stark reminder that the same technology fueling trillion-dollar valuations is also erasing business models overnight. Innovation giveth, disruption taketh away. Just as the corporate world toasted its newest alliance, Wall Street caught a chill. Across major indices, AI-linked stocks tumbled. NVIDIA dropped nearly 6% in a day, Palantir over 10%, and chip suppliers from Seoul to Taipei lost billions in market capitalization. The reason? Investors are beginning to whisper a dangerous phrase, the AI bubble. According to a Business Insider report, several high-profile hedge funds, including one led by Michael Burry, have taken positions shorting AI-heavy portfolios. Their argument: the hype has run far ahead of results. Corporate earnings don't yet justify the valuations. Even companies loudly advertising AI integration are often spending more on GPUs than they're saving through automation. A year ago, AI in a quarterly report guaranteed a stock bump. Now it triggers skepticism. Markets are demanding proof, not promises. Still, calling this a collapse would be premature. The pattern mirrors past technological revolutions, a frenzy of investment, a reckoning of reality, and finally, a long plateau of sustainable growth. The internet had its crash in 2000. Cryptocurrency had its in 2022. AI's first correction may already be underway, painful but necessary. At the crossroads: culture, energy, inequality, and regulation. While investors flinch, culture is leaning in. The Vogue Business AI tracker this week reported a wave of adoption in fashion and media. Luxury brands like Gucci and Balenciaga are experimenting with generative design tools to model new materials, while LVMH's fragrance division launched a neural network that predicts perfume success before production. To some, this is creative liberation. To others, it's algorithmic homogenization, beauty by data, originality by prompt. The debate over authenticity is back, this time with neural networks in the atelier. And regulators have noticed. The European Union's upcoming AI Act, expected to pass before year end, will require labels for AI-generated imagery and strict transparency around biometric data in advertising. For an industry built on illusion, it's a cultural earthquake. Suddenly, real and rendered must coexist on equal legal footing. But there's a hidden consequence. When audiences learn to distrust images, trust itself becomes currency. Authenticity, human, imperfect, unfiltered, may soon be the most valuable aesthetic of all. Behind the glitz and glamour, a quieter but existential crisis looms: energy. Every new AI model demands staggering amounts of electricity. Analysts estimate that by 2030, data centers powering AI could consume more energy than all of Japan. That trajectory is unsustainable. This week, Google, Microsoft, and OpenAI jointly announced research initiatives exploring nuclear microreactors and dynamic renewable scheduling for data centers. Microsoft is even hiring nuclear engineers for its Azure division. The message is clear: the AI revolution will stall if it cannot feed itself. There's irony here. AI began as software, intangible, virtual. Now it's one of the most resource-hungry industries on the planet. Every query, every image, every simulated conversation consumes energy that must come from somewhere. In the race to make machines intelligent, we risk making the planet more exhausted. But the same technology might offer solutions. AI-optimized power grids, smarter cooling systems, and neural network climate models are emerging to counteract the very costs they create. Humanity is, once again, inventing its way out of the problems it invents. If AI is the new frontier, then access is the new inequality. A UN-sponsored report this week revealed that more than 70 countries still have negligible compute access, effectively locking them out of frontier research. In Africa, the average AI lab runs on less than 1/10,000th the power of a Western data center. In South America, even promising startups struggle to rent GPUs for training. This is the compute divide, and it's shaping global destiny. Nations without infrastructure risk becoming consumers of intelligence rather than creators of it. Data flows north, value flows with it. Yet from the margins come sparks of resilience. Kenyan researchers are using small open-source models for crop prediction and disease tracking. In India, community labs are building translation systems for underrepresented languages. Open models like Mistral 7B and Meta's Llama 3 are becoming lifelines for innovation beyond Silicon Valley. The story of AI isn't only written in Washington and Beijing, it's also unfolding in Nairobi, Bangalore, Sao Paulo, places where access meets ingenuity. If the next revolution is to be truly global, it will depend on these local revolutions. Even as engineers build and investors bet, lawmakers are racing to catch up. The European AI Act has become the model for global regulation, defining high-risk systems, mandating transparency and enforcing ethical oversight. Meanwhile, the United States has introduced voluntary safety commitments among top firms, but no binding law yet exists. In China, a different model dominates: algorithmic governance through control, not transparency. AI systems must be registered with the state. Datasets must align with government guidelines, and generative platforms are monitored for ideological content. The West calls it censorship. Beijing calls it stability. Two philosophies, two futures. This regulatory divergence could fracture global AI standards just as thoroughly as the chip war. A model trained in Shanghai might be illegal in Brussels. A data set cleared in San Francisco might be banned in Paris. AI may be universal in language, but parochial in law. And somewhere in that legal maze, innovation will either accelerate or suffocate. AI at the crossroads, the mirror moment, the future, and the long view. When technology changes this fast, it forces a mirror on society. The question is no longer what can AI do, but what should it do? This week's events reflect humanity's split identity, creators chasing progress, regulators fearing its consequences, investors balancing greed and doubt. We are teaching machines to think, but still struggling to think clearly about ourselves. The irony is rich. The smarter our tools become, the less certain we are about how to use them. Across history, every major technological leap, electricity, radio, the internet, has rewritten what it means to be powerful. AI is rewriting what it means to be human. And perhaps the real race isn't between America and China, or between startups and giants. It's between wisdom and capability, between what we can build and what we can understand. Looking beyond this week, several questions hang heavy over the future. Sustainability. Can AI grow without consuming the planet's energy reserves? Equity. Will smaller nations and creators find a place in this new hierarchy of intelligence? Regulation. Will governments act fast enough to prevent misuse, yet slow enough to preserve innovation? Trust. As deepfakes and synthetic media explode, how do we anchor truth in an age of perfect illusion? Value. Beyond stock prices and GPU counts, is AI making human life genuinely better? How these questions are answered will define not just the next week of news, but the next century of civilization. Step back, and the picture sharpens. This week didn't just reveal an industry in motion, it revealed a civilization in negotiation with itself, between innovation and restraint, between connection and control, between what we can automate and what we refuse to surrender. Artificial intelligence is no longer content to live in the lab. It's moving into parliaments, factories, classrooms, hospitals, and homes. It's diagnosing patients, writing code, composing music, drafting laws, and increasingly making decisions that once belonged to people. Whether this future becomes utopia or dystopia will depend less on machines than on the humans guiding them. And if this week proved anything, it's that guidance is still being written in real time by engineers, investors, and citizens alike. So when we say AI is changing the world, remember, the world is also changing AI. Every regulation, every backlash, every ethical debate becomes part of the machine's next iteration. The intelligence we build is learning not just from data, but from us. That may be the most humbling and hopeful fact of all. The story of AI this week was a collision between nations and corporations, hype and hesitation, dreams and doubts. It was a reminder that progress is never linear. It surges, stumbles, recalibrates, and keeps moving. From chip factories in Shenzhen to policy tables in Brussels, from university labs to stock exchanges, artificial intelligence is redrawing the architecture of modern power. And while the headlines may fade by next week, the consequences will not. Because every breakthrough, every backlash, every whispered question about what intelligence really means is part of a larger human story. A story still being written, not by algorithms alone, but by all of us.